Hey everybody, this is A-Day Fox, and welcome to episode 1 of the Black Keto Podcast.
Yo.
Welcome to Black Keto, where we're bringing you keto for the culture.
Hey, I'm A-Day Fox, and I lost 80 pounds on a low-carb ketogenic diet, and adopting a low-carb diet was the very best thing I did for my own health, weight, and mental well-being, and I want to help my people see the same success.
You better go, girl. And I'm Imani Dawson, and I have not lost 80 pounds on keto yet, but I have been doing it for about 8 weeks. I'm down 20 pounds, and I'm feeling great.
So the purpose of the podcast is to provide information about our personal experience in hopes that we will inspire other people of color to get on board
The Keto Train! And our attorneys want you to know that we are not doctors and we repeat, not dispensing medical advice, so don't try to sue us because it is that serious.
So this is the first of many, many podcasts. We're going to cover diabetes, heart disease, eating well on a budget.
And of course, ketoing while black.
That's right, and all kinds of topics of interest to our community. But first, a little bit about us.
Yo.
Once again, we are not doctors. We are not dispensing medical advice. So get you a plan together. See your physician, right, A-Day?
That's right. Go to your doctor, get everything checked out, and then listen to what we have to say and decide what you want to take in and what you want to use.
That's right. We're just sharing our personal stories to inspire you.
So like I said, my name is A-Day Fox, and I'm a community organizer and wellness advocate and coach. I've been working to improve the lives of people of color and poor people for over 2 decades. And during that time, I've learned that good health is the foundation for everything. Wealth, success, good fortune.
I mean, how you going to take on the world if you can't even get out the bed? That's real.
That's right. That's why I am so passionate about this diet, because I think it can transform our community. Rosa Parks, Sojourner Truth, and Harriet Tubman couldn't have been the leaders they were without being strong and in shape.
Do you know, I just found out that Harriet Tubman, shout out to Black History Month. That's right. We're launching Black Keto and Black History Month. That Harriet Tubman actually used to shoot deserters, so you know she was no joke. I know she had jerky on that journey, boy. They was out there looking for the North Star. Listen, like you and Harriet, I am also deeply concerned about our community. I want us to have freedom. I want us to have wellness. And I feel this movement in a deeply personal way. I'm a writer and TV producer. I founded Tribe Called Curl, which is a natural hair platform for women of color. So I am all about building community. And I've been on my own personal weight loss journey for 30 long years, and I am not that old, so that is the better part of my life.
Unfortunately, so many of us, same story, dieting forever.
Boy. I just hope that my story can inspire somebody else to make good choices and consider keto for a lifestyle, because everybody doing it. I know I've been trying to get my husband. My son is like, I'm a paleo kid. I've been in my mother-in-law's ear. And, you know, celebrities like Halle Berry. And some of those ones that we all think are total trash, you know you think it too. Come on, I know you there with us. We're not going to name names, but you know who the whack wannabes are. You know, the culture vultures with no talent and artificially inflated asses. But you know what? They might not have talent. They might steal everything, but they are in shape. Got to give them something.
So the point is, most of the people who are fit and fine have tried keto at some point, and if you're trying to drop it like it's hot and rake it up, or at least give yourself that option, you need to check out keto.
All right, Adi Minaj. It is Black History Month. Speaking of which, Black Panther is the best thing to happen to black people since the election of Barack Obama.
Woo!
You're welcome for that. If you haven't seen it, you need to join all the millions of the rest of us that have seen it 20 times. The whole cast is fit and fine, and I bet money that more than a few of them follow the keto diet.
Man, and Angela Bassett, whew.
I can't believe she's 60. Now, I actually do know that she's a vegan, so she will be the great exception. But somebody else on there ate bacon on the way to the gym. That's all I'm saying. Maybe not Sister Angela, but somebody else, because pork fat rules.
Well, to build really big muscles, that's what happens. Meat is involved. So a ketogenic diet is any diet that puts you in a state of burning fat for energy rather than glucose. And the best way to do this is reduce your carbs to less than 20 grams a day and eat moderate amounts of protein. And make sure that those 20 grams of carbohydrate are coming from green leafy vegetables, dairy products, nuts, not Skittles, not donuts, because you're going to have a hard time if you are getting your 20 grams in sugar.
To be clear, 20 grams of leafy green vegetables is about a salad.
And a medium salad, not one of those huge ones that sometimes you get at a restaurant.
Not a you greedy salad. So apparently you got to be very careful about that. And of course, you guys can always check out our website, blackketo.com, for more details on the plan. So, I've been doing it for just a few weeks, and I can't believe how simple it is. But of course, I have avoided group dinners and family outings like I stole something. So I definitely want to give it to the people who've held me down. I apologize to those people who have not seen me and been like, what's wrong with Imani? She just ghosts. I'm trying to live, so my bad. But shout out to my husband, who is also down 20 pounds, and he did it in a month. And to you, A-Day, because it takes a village to keep me away from french fries and red velvet cake.
This takes time. This is a lifestyle. This is not, a short-term diet to drop a couple of pounds. So it takes time to reframe your mind and think about this differently. And, that 20 gram number is in some ways it's rather arbitrary. If you're a 25-year-old professional athlete in great shape, then you can probably eat up to 100 grams of carbohydrates a day and still be burning fat. But if you're, more like me and in your mid-40s and you've been obese for a while, you're not going to have that much metabolic flexibility.
And make sure you get on keto so those ambulances aren't coming for you. The ones you can hear in the background. Thank you, New York.
And that is unfortunately true. Our community is facing, epidemic amounts of diabetes and stroke and cardiovascular disease. We have to get our food and our diet under control. You
are so right. And listen, we all have to help each other. So we want you guys to be part of our village too. So make sure that you hit us up at blackketoinfo@gmail.com with any questions, concerns, share your stories. If you're on keto, we want to hear your victories. We want to give us recipes. We love to eat, and we like our food with flavor. No shade to any of the other keto people out there. There are a lot of great resources, but sometimes we want a little bit more than salt and pepper. That's all I'm saying.
So we're going to do our best to answer your questions. And just remember, we're not doctors and we're not dispensing medical advice. We're simply sharing our experience to inspire and support you.
That's right. And now it's time to pump you up.
Yo.
Now we're going to tell you a little bit more about how we got here. And sometimes I look down at my plate of fat with a side of meat and I'll be like, how did you get here? First of all, let me just say, I actually do know how I got here. A-Day, you totally inspired me. No, for real, y'all. Like, tears.
Like,
I was not
getting me all choked up.
I know, but I was not thinking about no meat and cheese diet. I was contemplating the stable my jaw and hope for the best plan, actually.
Low carb was really one of the first diets that actually worked for me.
Okay, so we need to have a worst diet ever powwow because I have had some really horrible ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, trying to be vegan and all the beans I ate, look, beans just don't agree with me.
Oh no, I think everybody, if you look hard enough, has little farts in their past from beans. I actually love beans, and I just deal with the side effects.
I finally said, this is it. My friendships and my relationships with the human race are more important to me than
what?
beans.
Listen, if you can't be around me because I have a little gas, then it's not real. Okay? Farting happens.
A little, yes. Massive amounts, no.
If the love is real, then he will take it. Maybe not.
But tell me about your worst one.
Oh God. I think that the first time might have been the worst time. Actually, the second to first time. But my family is blackity black.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all.
So the first diet that I can remember being on was the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet. And Mr. Gregory, God rest his soul, was brilliant. He was a brilliant comedian, activist, man of the people, but diet nutrition expert, not so much. So that powder was so bad. I remember thinking, I can see why everybody's getting skinny. Who wants to drink this nasty crap?
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna have to stay fat a little bit longer. And so it was.
Oh boy. Well, I actually had a whole bunch of hints all along the way that low carb was actually the right plan for me. I don't know if you remember when I was in high school, the blood type diet came out, and I'm type O, so I'm supposed to be, eating meat and vegetables. So I don't subscribe to the science in that book, but it was funny that, even in high school, there was this little idea going, hey, this is what you should be doing.
Well, my blood type said that I should eat a whole bunch of vegetables and fruit. So I was like,
maybe that's why the beans are not a problem for you.
Maybe.
For me, I could,
Although,
clear a room.
listen, I am living that keto life now. I'm all about that keto life. So I have put black beans behind me. Get thee behind me, black bean.
But anyway, in the early 2000s, I was actually having a lot of trouble with allergies. I've always had eczema and sinusitis and hay fever and all this other stuff, and it was getting really bad. And so my mom came across this alternative doctor, Dr. Kokai. He had a show on WBAI. Do you know him?
I think that might be the one Black activist / nutritionist / wellness expert that my mother was not familiar with. So no, I do not know Dr. Kukai.
Well, he was, and actually a went to medical school and was a licensed physician. So my insurance covered the visit. But he was also practiced alternative medicine. And so when we went, I fully expected to, have him say, all right, you got to have these vegetables and no meat and, do this and have these
That
supplements.
is what we like to call in the hood the best of both worlds. Okay. Healer and medical doctor.
Yeah. And I think he went to Yale. So, no slouch here. So, but actually, he came back to me after we did all these tests and said, look, you've got to follow the cave woman diet. You need to eat meat and vegetables. Nothing that came in a package, a box, has a nutritional label. You're allergic to corn and soy, which is in everything. So,
damn, you can't eat nothing anyway, ain't it?
Yeah. So he said, you've got to go back to our ancient times and eat what ancient people eat, and that was meat and vegetables. He said, practice the cave woman diet. So this was right before paleo really took off. So I was talking about for the 6 months before I first have heard of paleo that I'm on the cave woman diet.
So there's been all this talk about keto and paleo and these sort of low carb diets being ancestral, but does that mean our ancestors? How were they eating in Africa? Because I've been to a few African countries and I've also had lots of West African food, and they all seem to have this thick grit kind of staple. When I went to Zimbabwe, they called it sadza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you bring up a really important point and an interesting point. I mean, one, I think we need to be aware that the food choices today are very often political choices. So especially when we're looking at developing countries, what people have access to, where they have been pushed off of their ancestral lands, where, hunting or agriculture might have been done. The choices of things that people have available to eat are very much political decisions. And I believe, that starvation and lack of access to quality food are all political decisions. They are not environmental decisions. So it's important to break those two things up. But, in my former life, I was getting a PhD in anthropology.
She's so smart. You smart, girl.
And so I got my master's degree in archaeology, which I loved.
Oh, it kind of makes you like Indiana Jones with a booty, huh?
That's right. That's right. And so, when you look back, and I've always had an interest in human evolution, who we are, where we came from, how we evolved, what we were evolved to eat in the environment that we were involved to live in. And so when you look back to our long-term ancestors, the ancestors of the human race, we were hunters. I mean, we evolved. The majority of our evolution has been spent as hunter-gatherers and hunting, and we ate meat and fat, and that was the primary focus of our diet. Agriculture.
So what were we gathering then, if we weren't getting corn together for some corn chips? Or potatoes for some french fries.
Right. So those things didn't exist. Agriculture really only came onto the scene 10 to 12,000 years ago. So that is a brand new invention. Chocolate, corn, grains, and, flour made from grains and seeds. These things just didn't exist before.
And so is anybody, who in Africa now is, eating keto?
You could say the Maasai warriors. Now they're, a little on the extreme end. They're eating primarily meat, milk, and blood. But most of the continent.
Blood sounds so.
I'm not saying we go in that direction, but most of the continent has been changed by colonialism, and so there isn't anybody who is, really uncontacted and still living, their actual life without there being influence.
I'm just going to take a leap here and blame it on a man. Okay.
I think so.
They're eating thick grits. It's not you. It's oppression.
But a lot of those sorts of things are we're eating because they are easy to grow in bad soil and in bad conditions, and they're not particularly nutritive. And so, these are the things that become the core of the diet, and it is impacting our health in such a negative way around the world. You see this in poor communities where, corn flour, tapioca, or various different things are serving as that.
So you could say really choosing to eat keto could be seen as a revolutionary act.
I believe so. What we are doing is really, challenging the orthodoxy. We are talking and sharing brand different information that it is up to you, the listener, to decide how you want to use this.
Fight the power! Eat keto! Have some fat! Well, listen, that is all very helpful and a lot of food for thought. I don't have anything nearly as deep or as harrowing to share. But I can say that from my own personal experience that I have literally tried every single other diet. And then I came around to this one. I actually tried the Atkins diet in the early 90s, and I gained 4 pounds, and I was like, oh, low carb's not for me. But now looking back, I realized that I was not quite ready to let loose the sugar. So I had to have my dab of ketchup on my sloppy hamburger with no bun, and I had whipped cream that I actually did whip, but I added just a packet. I was like, oh, I'm under 20 grams. So, and then I stepped on the scale 4 pounds heavier, and I was like, oh, this is some bullshit.
It was a delightfully tasting 2 weeks though, wasn't it?
It definitely was fun while it lasted, but, I know now you can't have it all. You can't have delicious fatty meats, and have sugar. Unless you hit some kind of evolutionary lotto that I know nothing about.
But we have hit dieting nirvana. I mean, this is the one time where I can actually feel full and satisfied when I'm done with my meal.
Yeah, just so y'all know, A-Day's been doing this for 3 years, and I have been doing it for closer to 3 months. Actually, closer to 2 months. So our perspectives are going to be a little bit different. I have to say that it is nice to feel full. But I have had an occasional hankering for something sweet. I'm not gonna lie. I have looked at the refrigerator like, that banana could be lovely going down. So how do you stay on the straight and narrow when it comes to the diet?
There are a lot of things. I think you have to build up, and this is part of the mindset too. You really have to build up why you're doing this in your mind and really focus on that. For me, I had a lot of inflammation and pain in the beginning, and that was that was really a driver for me. I live in a walk-up. I live in the city. I take the subway. Going up and down stairs was agony, and I was like, I can't do this.
No, that is completely real. I'm sure, like, now looking at my commitment relative to other things that I've done, the inflammation part is real. But when I started dieting, I just really wanted to be cuter. And my story really starts in 7th grade. I had a huge transition. I went from my little public school in East New York to an elite, predominantly white, all-girls prep school on the Upper East Side. So it was kind of like my own version of Different Strokes, except nobody adopted me and made me rich. I had to go home to the hood. But I walked into the school. I was rocking I will never forget, I was rocking a Lane Bryant apricot sweatsuit because I was a size 14 at 12 years old. So I looked 40 from the neck down. And I immediately realized at that point that I was fat compared to the other girls. And actually, Ada and I share, among many things, a background at all-girl schools, kind of like the Facts of Life without Duty.
I have a guilty confession. I binge watched the Facts of Life all weekend.
Lucky you. Well, I was out with the rest of our people seeing Black Panther as many times as I can, but I'm glad that you had a great time with Mrs. Garrett and the girls.
Tootie was awesome.
Tootie was awesome, and sadly none of us could roll around with roller skates when I was at my all-girls school. What was yours like?
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, I mean, and being thin, that was just a thing in the late 80s. Like, being quote-unquote anorexic, I understand that is a real eating disorder, but it was also like an activity, a trend, something cool, and the cool kids did it.
No, and I definitely saw it at my school as well, and did not have the discipline to restrict my food for any real length of time.
So when was your first diet?
Oh my God.
What started it?
Not surprisingly, it was shortly after I got to my school and was like, oh, I'm really fat. I'm not just round the way good, thick. You walk through Brooklyn and Jamaican guys like, what's up? And I was like, oh, wow, like I am big. So the very first thing that I did when I got my hands on some money, and shout out to the librarian that hired all of the girls of color at our school, I bought diet pills. Like, I went into a health and vitamin store, which I believe was GNC, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that, and bought like some pills that were like fat blockers. And my little 12-year-old mind was like, I'm going to take this, wake up tomorrow and be completely thin. And spoiler alert, I was not. So I'll give that part of the story away. And so that really started just a legacy of trying stuff, failing. I went to Weight Watchers, learned that I couldn't eat chicken skin, and wanted I was like, this can't be life. I don't want to live in a world where I cannot eat the deliciously crispy skin. At least give me roast chicken. Like, if I can't have fried chicken, give me roast chicken. But they was like, nope. Low fat. And I was like, low fun.
That's right. So, did you ever have like any dieting success? Tell me about that one.
Well, yes. I mean, eventually you figure it out. And when I was 16 years old, I was really tired of being sort of like the fat funny one. Although I do think I'm quite funny, so I'm glad that I retained that. And I just thank you. Well, if 8 laughs, then nothing else matters. I have entertained at least one. But I just decided, I was like, nah, I am going to be fly or take my best shot at it. Let me take a stab at it. So I worked really hard, and I had a wonderful doctor in the hood that would prescribe diet pills for me, the real ones, not the ones that you see in TV commercials.
Man, I can't believe
in the 80s. Yeah, absolutely. She was like, oh, you want to be thin? I got just the thing for you. And she gave me a prescription for phentermine. And it's not like...
I'm jealous.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't even get a prescription for Motrin.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
See what happens when you don't grow up in the hood? You can find anything in the doggone hood. Yo, I was in a Uber the other day, and the guy was like, "You need a 5-stick jailbroken? Because I can do that for you." So, yes, that is, we often talk about the dysfunction of living in some of our lower income communities, but they are, say what you want, they are a resourceful bunch. And the doctor was like, "I got you, girl." So she gave me a prescription. I dropped 50 pounds and my life changed. And for much of my adult life, I spent that time gaining and losing that same 50 pounds.
So what was the absolute worst diet?
Oh, gosh. So many bad ones. Well, I talked a little bit about the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet earlier, and that one was pretty darn
all the shakes
terrible.
were awful. Remember, like they just did not know how to do artificial
It
sweetening,
tasted like chalk
flavor.
and crap. But
Yeah.
it was absolutely the 80s. I think the second worst diet for me was being vegan because, and it's amazing, and I support everybody who is making that choice for health reasons, because you do feel great. But like, I just missed meat so much. Like, I just loved it. I loved the taste of a hamburger and a steak, and it was like, yeah, I'm out here feeling all inspired, but damn, my mom's ribs, so good.
Well, I was always very political, and so going vegan was really about a political choice. And I do have a problem with, the nature of our food production in this country, the foods that we choose to subsidize versus not subsidize, and all of that. And I think, and I'm happy to have that kind of conversation with any vegan. I think we're absolutely right to push back on those things.
That's right. Those animals have rights, even if they taste delicious, which is the fight that I had. Because you know what? I did read the PETA materials and familiarize all myself. I'm like, animals have feelings. I'm like, but they taste so good.
Yes.
This hamburger is delicious. So I was just like, it wasn't workable for me. Like, my husband was basically like a meatitarian. Like, let me get an extra side of meat with my meat. So he was like, I will divorce you if you think about just eating. No, he loves me to death. He would not have divorced me, but he'd have been like, well, where's my steak at? Because I'm not a vegan. So in the long run, it was kind of unsustainable for me. And I had the best diet. You didn't ask me of the best diet. So one of the best diets that I had was, fun fact about me, I was the first Black weight loss diarist for Shape magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And so in 2005, I put my weight out there for the world. And that is a hell of a motivator to keep you in the gym working out. Like, no, I can't be the one that messes this up. You know how you feel that double consciousness and your duty to the people? Like, I cannot let my community down. I've got to lose weight. I've got to win this. So
What kind of pressure is that? To be perfect? I mean, come on.
Well, not perfect, but at least not trifling. They'd be like, see, they picked a Black girl and she gained 10 pounds. And I'm like, oh my God, they give you a trainer. You get to meet with like a nutritionist. I had a therapist.
Wow.
Just for my eating issues, which I didn't know I had. And that's when I realized the wonders of therapy. So if you have something that you need to talk through and you've been chatting with Jesus and it hasn't quite worked out, yes, therapy is wonderful.
Take advantage of your
much.
Insurance plan. Most people's insurance covers some therapy, so take it.
That's great.
Do
Although,
it.
you know what? It is important to find somebody who understands your struggle. So anyway, I had all of these tools, and I wound up doing, really well on the plan. Like, I watched myself transform in a magazine. No one ever recognized me because I changed my hair every month, which was part of the fun. And it was in response to having a boyfriend who complained, an ex-boyfriend who complained that I never switched up my hair. He's like, "You all black." Yes, I had natural hair before it was cool. Me and Lauryn Hill together, like, that thing. Anyway, so I was like, I'm going to show him, I'm going to change my hair every month. And then nobody ever knew who I was. Except the Black people, because, we can actually tell each other apart. So it was a wonderful experience. But once I fell in love and found someone as delightfully awkward and greedy as myself, I realized that it was not going to be sustainable for me as a lifestyle. It was very much about a balanced diet. So I could eat essentially what I wanted, and it was very ultimately calories in, calories out, my own version of kind of like a Biggest Loser challenge, because my butt was in the gym 5 days a week, rain or shine, getting my 1 hour to 2 hours in. Like, no, I got to do this one really for the culture, for my family.
And that stuff will work one time. And,
right.
mustering the energy and drive it takes to get up and be at the gym early and be there for an hour and do that elliptical for an hour and a half. You watch those Biggest Loser people, like, that is one time in a lifetime.
I actually took an amazing boot camp class. I don't know if they're still doing it in Harlem, because, I go to Harlem and I'm like, whoa, totally different. But these two black women were teaching, it was called True Control Fitness, and they had us up at 6 o'clock in the morning, running in the park. I was on it. And shout out to everybody who was in my group, because there were some amazing women in there doing amazing things now. But I knew for certain that once I lost that sort of army-like discipline, that I was not going to be able to keep it up. And sure enough, like, my then boyfriend turned into my husband, so we were young and in love, and youngish and in love. And then, we were kind of like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to go to the gym. Like, I want to stay here.
Of course not. Like,
So we got all comfortable
to
and put on pounds. And then I started working in television, which was a whole other thing, which is amazing, just being in media. And I realized that I found my calling, but it could be like 16-hour days. So it's not much gym time in that. You know what I'm saying? So then we got married, and we started trying to have a child, and that in and of itself was stressful. And so I looked up, and I was 50 pounds overweight again.
Yeah, you hear that kind of story over and over again, and it's like what we've been told just isn't working. So tell me, what sparked your latest weight challenge?
Well, I did have that baby, so thank you.
Yes,
science.
All right.
Thank you, prayers, everybody that prayed for me.
It took a village, right?
It did take a village of
pregnant
prayers
and to keep you pregnant.
I just need a village for everything. Like, I need to literally, I'm walking down the street. Don't get hit, Imani. Where's my village at? Where's my tribe? So yes. Thank you to everyone who prayed my son up, and, thank you to the doctors and the power of technology. So I had my own little Wakanda experience when I was trying to have my son. I was like, where's that vibranium out? Because I need this dog. Okay. But I then, it was very taxing on my body, and I wound up, gaining about 40 pounds just trying to get pregnant.
Additionally 40?
Oh, yes, girl. Oh, I got on the scale. So it's so funny. Like, in my initial essay, I talked about how I had all these aunts that were over 250 pounds, and I would never allow myself to get that big. And then I had my son, and I was like 40 and stepped on the scale, and I was like, oh, the shit was like,
you turned into an aunt.
You know what I mean? And that was after he had been born, so I had already like lost the initial weight. So who knows how much I weighed when I actually delivered the prince. But like, my snapback situation was not. It was not snapping in the way that, you see Beyonce and like 3 days later she in like a tight dress. Nah, I still look like I was carrying around an extra person. So I just kind of woke up one day and was like, I really have to change my life. Let me correct myself. I woke up in agonizing pain and was like, I'm gonna have to do something different. And that is when I started.
Wait, what was the pain?
I actually was I had fallen asleep on the couch working on something or reading something, and I woke up and literally could not move. And I found out later that I had sciatica.
Oh, my God.
And that was just like, I was like, wait a minute. I am not that old. I'm like, yeah, I'm old, but I'm not old. Why am I feeling like I need to be in a Medic Alert commercial? Like, I've fallen and I can't get up. And I just was like, this cannot be my life from here on end. And I also lost my mom. She was very young. She's like 60 years old. And I was just like, I don't want to, I don't want to have I want to live past 60, but I also want a good quality of life. Because towards the end, my mother really, she suffered a little bit. She had been a smoker, and, things caught up with her. And I just had an opportunity to make different choices, and I was determined to do that. So, yeah, I found that inner reservoir of strength, inspiration, blah, blah, blah. But I just was like, I need something different. And that's when I started trying to lose.
That's true of many of my clients. That initial spark, the inspiration to really change their lives for the better and towards this low carb, paleo, ketogenic way of life is usually that pain in the morning of not being able to move, of having the aches and pains travel with you as you walk to the bathroom in the morning, and all of those things.
Well, I can see how having pain will make you change your life right quick.
Yeah, well, and that's what it's supposed to do. Pain is an indication that you're doing something wrong. So you are doing the right thing when you turn around and pay attention to that. And frankly, when I did that, years ago when I went to Dr. Kokai, that cave woman diet did help. It helped my eczema a lot. And for a long time, I kind of kept my weight under control by keeping my carbs low and focusing on the protein. But, that life happens, and we are emotional beings, and emotional eating, like many women, was a challenge for me.
Well, even though you had so many signs, like I feel kind of like God was trying to tell you something early.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Indeed he was. But, sugar is really tasty. And so, the devil's always whispering in your ear.
Eat me.
Exactly.
Delicioso.
So, when life is going well, it's kind of, you kind of have the resistance and the ability to say no and to, make healthier choices. But sugar actually changes the biology of our brain. It makes it harder for us to turn away from.
And how did you make that shift 3 years ago?
I did a lot of reading. I really did a lot of introspective thinking, and I realized that I couldn't change the way my brain and my emotional state was if I was not putting in the right raw ingredients. So I said, I am not going to be able to heal on, red velvet cake and potato chips.
But did you have like a specific goal in mind?
Well, I had my rock bottom moment of going to my brother's wedding, being so uncomfortable, having to wear Spanx in 100-degree weather. But,
yikes!
Yeah.
As someone who's worn someone who's worn girdles, or as my grandma used to say, contraptions, for the better part of 3 decades, I cannot help but agree.
Yes, absolutely. But it was really a combination of things, but really recognizing that I am now entering middle age, and if it's all downhill from here, I wanted to start higher on the hill.
Well, that motorcycle outside will definitely get you high up on the hill.
Well, I wouldn't even be able to ride a motorcycle.
I ain't mad at that.
Yeah, exactly. So, once I started following the plan and the program, I started feeling better, and I was stunned. Like, I never would have imagined that I could wake up in the morning and not feel anything.
Oh,
so
girl.
You just wait and see. You will get there. I never would have believed that possible.
Well, I will say this for sure. I was so stiff that I couldn't move, and I have gotten to a point where I can feel it in the morning, but it doesn't stop me. So I was like needing 5 minutes, a good 5 minutes to get myself together to actually get up off the bed. And now maybe I'm down to like 45 seconds. Progress.
I promise you will get to the point where that's not an issue. You can get up and you're not going to feel anything. Those days of needing a couple of seconds, that's far down the road. We are not that old yet.
And Ade should know, since I'll let her tell you about this, but she, in addition to being a marvelous academician, is also a community organizer who ran for office.
Well, you've definitely heard throughout this program how revolutionary I can actually be. And I think that, we have to make change in our communities, and we can't look to somebody else to do it. And so,
well.
Yeah. And so I decided to run for office because I really did not believe that, our interests were being represented. And so I went against the establishment. I went and I called out the kinds of things that, we're not supposed to call out, and the things that moneyed people don't want you to be talking about.
It ain't trying to stick it to the man.
Yes. So that required a huge amount of time and investment. And this was something that I've always wanted to do. So I was really happy to get to do it. But I had to, knock on 10,000 doors. I must have climbed 100 flights of stairs a day. Because in New York, we got no elevators.
I was just going to say, if you ever spent any time in New York, then you know we have to walk everywhere. These mean streets are long. Yeah.
Long and high. Every building in my neighborhood was 4 flights up, and every building had 4 different staircases to get to the apartment. So in each building, I probably had to climb 16 flights of stairs.
Well, look, you didn't win, but you got in hella good shape. She out here looking like Sarah Connor, y'all, in Terminator 2. So just for everybody who's old like me, you'll remember those wonderful movies and how crazy and cut Sarah Connor looked after the Terminator. So yeah, 8A is there.
And, I could not have done it if I hadn't been following this way of eating. I mean, the way, for last summer, my thought wasn't in trying to lose weight. It was just eating in a way that was going to give me the most energy, because every single day I had to bring 110%. So I never, stopped and had some ice cream or anything, because I knew I could not give up a couple of hours of feeling bad. Every second was accounted for. So I ate great all summer. I lost weight. Not even on purpose. And I have literally never felt better in my life.
That is what convinced me, yo. Because I saw you and I was like, wait, I could lose 80 pounds eating hamburger with butter in it? Sign me up. I'll do it. Sorry, Beyonce.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite thing was ground beef with a jar of low-carb tomato sauce poured in. And I used to, use it as, pretend spaghetti sauce over, broccoli or stuff. But by the end of the summer, I was just eating a bowl of that with some sour cream and mozzarella.
That actually sounds kind of delicious.
It was delicious. So, yeah.
Particularly for those of us that are not lactically challenged.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, a fun treat. But anyway, we're going to get into lots of recipes. So that one we'll give you another time.
And inspiration. Yes, 8A, we definitely going to have to bookmark that one for the future, because I actually really do want to try that.
That's my campaign meal.
Oh, how to get out there and win in a hurry.
Yo. Yo.
Right now, we are going to share some of the inspiration that we've had, and we're going to give you a little inspiration, because getting well is the best thing anyone can do for themselves. Self-care is so necessary. That is probably the number one thing that I have learned. And it's revolutionary, because as women, we're told to put everyone else first, and there is real power in putting yourself first. It's like, if you're not doing well, how can we ultimately help others without killing ourselves? Mm-hmm. It's like being on an airplane. You know how you listen to that message and you're like, God, I hope we're never in a crash. But in the case that something happens, you're supposed to secure your own mask first. And keto, for me, is that lifesaver.
It is the sweetest lifesaver. Okay, that was a terrible pun.
Well, when you're not making puns that make everyone else ponder what you're saying, tell us what wellness looks like for you.
Wellness is feeling great, having the energy to do whatever your life demands, whatever your dreams are. That's wellness. At the end of the day, we want to drop dead in our 90s or 100s, doing something incredibly fun and decent.
I would love to do a century, but I got to do it in style. You know what I mean? I got to be like the Astors. You hear about somebody, they're like, oh my God, they was sitting on trillions and they lived to 118. Like, I need to have the resources for what I need, but I also want to keep myself in fighting shape, which is why I am Team Keto right now.
That's right. So that's
now
what we want. So we don't want to be, we don't want to have a stroke in our 50s, have Alzheimer's in our 60s. You want to live a long time.
Well, we all want to, and that is great motivation for the long haul, but I also need to deal with the here and now. So I want to do something that I am calling What's Your Motivation? So every week I want to choose a person or event that helps us all keto on. We could do it together. We will choose a person or event that keeps us ketoing on, because that is so important. And for me this week, it is not just Halle Berry, but Bond girl Halle Berry. So if you will think back to 2002, she emerged out the water looking like she had dudes spouting 1,000 poems about how she was not Yemaya, she was Ocean. She looked amazing, and she was like 38 years old at the time. So it wasn't even like she's amazing getting that extra credit that you get for being young. She just was gorgeous. And so the next time I am tempted by a child's party, because my son is in nursery and every week is somebody's birthday, like, I will be thinking, what would Bond girl Halle Berry do?
Well, that's exactly what we should be doing. Taking, someone who is athletic, strong, in shape, and putting that in the forefront of our mind. And since I just saw Black Panther this weekend too, that is what is on my mind. Man, everybody looked good in that movie.
Every single woman in Black Panther. Like, I'm just trying to defend the king. You know what I'm saying? Wakanda forever.
And I want some body armor, man. I want to get out there.
I can't do the neck rings, though, because I kind of got a short neck. I come from short people. Listen, I know thyself. I'm just saying, I know what works, and, I know that perhaps 10 rings would not flow with my neck the way it's set up. But I might not be able to do that, but I can burn it down in the kitchen if I do say so myself. And so we also want to make sure that we are sharing recipes with you, because we want to keto with flavor. Like, we need those, y'all. Shout out to Lawry Seasoned Salt. You grew up, had a little soul seasoning that you threw in the recipe. You know what I'm saying? Because your mom threw down, and my mom, God bless her soul, did not throw down, but she had her dishes that she could make a day. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Everybody had their specialties. My mom made a mean eggs and bacon. Her hamburgers and french fries, all the stuff she liked. Her hamburgers and french fries were off the chain. And she also had a very delicious pernil. My godmother was Puerto Rican, and so she used to hang out with Puerto Rican folks. I think they influenced it, and then she put her little East New York stank on it. So I am calling this East New York pernil in honor of my mama, and where I'm from. And I will tell you about the most delicious pork that I have personally ever tasted in my life. Of course, I'm biased, but you be the judge and tell us. Thank you so much. So I start with an 8-pound pork shoulder. Get yourself something with a lot of meat and a lot of fat on it. And the best thing about this particular cut is that it's not that expensive, right? Yeah, like in New York, where you have to sacrifice half a kidney just to make your monthly rent. You're like, I'll just adopt somebody next door. Let's triple up.
That's a great thing about keto. If you, with a little extra effort and, possibly a lot of time, you could take some cheap cuts of meat and be, sitting pretty for a whole week.
So, yes, pork shoulder will not cost you an arm and a leg.
Just a shoulder.
Just a shoulder. Ha. We're going to put her out for some stand-up later, y'all. So it doesn't end there, okay? But definitely get yourself this pork shoulder, about half a head of garlic. So that's around 10 to 12 garlic cloves, 3 teaspoons of fresh oregano, about a teaspoon of black pepper, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 6 ounces of spicy brown mustard, and maybe like an ounce, like a dab of white vinegar. And I also add half a teaspoon of salt per pound of meat. And because I am unapologetically Black American, I add my seasoning salt. I need my soul salt. So growing up, it was Lawry's, but my palate has changed. So now I'm more of an Old Bay kind of chick. I'm just saying. So definitely season salt to your particular liking. If you like a little dustin, if you like it a little bit more soulful, add a little bit more, but you want to do that to your taste. Wash your pork shoulder, and then with a sharp knife, make 1-inch diamond-shaped cuts into the pork.
So an inch, the skin can be an inch itself. So
that is
how
a great
far
point,
down are you going?
Go deep. You gotta go deep past the fat into the meat. So stab past that fat, which we are leaving on because fat is where's that? When it comes to keto, that's right.
That is where it's at.
So you're gonna go past that fat and then go an inch deeper into that because you want the flavors to actually get into the pork. And I actually use a blender because I'm lazy, but the old school way is a mortar and pestle to crush the garlic, the oregano, the black and pepper together, and then add the olive oil, the vinegar, and the salt. And I just kind of throw that in my Vitamix and turn it into almost like a paste. I put the pork in a roasting pan, skin side up, and I spread that mixture all over the pork. Then I cover that baby with aluminum foil and I let it marinate. So you want to refrigerate that for at least 8 hours. I have gone up to 2 days.
So wait, you make the paste and you put that inside the meat, and then you cover the meat with more of the paste or with the mustard?
Thank you. Oh my goodness, my mother is looking up from. She's in the ancestral realm now with the Wakandans, I'm sure. Introducing
she just
herself.
climbed off her trtree like,
She's
wait
like,
a
hold
minute.
up. What happened to the spicy mustard? You are 100% right. Please forgive me, mother. I'm sorry. I have embarrassed the family. Forgive me. So yes, before you refrigerate it, after you cover it with the paste, you then throw on the mustard. And then perhaps you might even want to add a little more seasoned salt to that.
And just to clarify, we're talking about mustard, not honey mustard, not sweet
Definitely,
stuff.
no, you don't want anything sweet. You want to avoid sweeteners, just generally cooking at this point, right? But certainly for this dish, you don't need honey mustard. Just at one of the spicy brown mustards, I usually get like the store brand. I just saw
fancy,
some.
Dijon.
Yes, I was gonna say Dijon, and then there's another kind that might be Dijon, but unfortunately, I am much closer to my East New York self than I am my Upper East Side self now, so I don't really know the distinction in the mustards. But I saw something with some big looking mustard seeds in it, and I was like, interesting. I don't know if that's Dijon or not. I'm just gonna be 100% real with y'all because I am living my truth. And I'm telling you that I have no idea what kind of mustard that was, but it looks interesting. So use that too. You just want something that essentially tastes like mustard. Fancy, regular, yellow, whatever. You're then going to preheat your oven to 325 degrees, and you're going to bake your pork for 45 minutes per pound of pork. And then for the final hour, you're going to remove that aluminum foil. You're going to bake it at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for an additional hour until the skin is crisp.
Man, that is a long
It is,
time.
but it is worth the wait. It is like you come 3 days later, you're like, oh, delicioso.
And you're smelling all that deliciousness for 8
And
hours, building up an
That's
appetite.
right. And the pork is well done and tender, and all is right with the world.
Wow. All right. Well, I am definitely looking forward to that.
I'm going to have to make you some. When's your birthday, girl?
Oh, no, we can't wait until June. We gotta do it sooner.
Yo. Yo.
So join us next time, and we're going to be talking about everything keto and why, we need to be on this keto train.
I am excited. And of course, we will share more recipes with you and more motivation. So thanks for listening. And remember to live keto and do
it
keto for the culture. Peace.
Yo. Yo. Yo.